What's going on YouTube? OCD for EDC here. And what I got for your face balls today is something that I never thought that I would own. So you guys know that I just recently got back from Blade Show. And while I was there, I walked up to the Medford booth. And I saw a knife that really blew my mind, honestly. I was asking if Medford was private labeling or importing a knife, because what I ended up purchasing from Medford, like I said, it just blew my mind because it's completely out of character for what Medford has done in the past, which I am really happy to see them moving in a new direction and actually making pocket knives, because up to this point, I don't feel like they really have made a pocket knife. They've made some knife-shaped objects, but they weren't really cutting tools. They were more like, we'll just call them the hammers of the EDC world, if you will. But this here happens to be the Medford M-48. And as far as I know, this was just released at the show. Now, this is going to be a standard model that they offer. And there are a lot of firsts on this knife, or this model from Medford. But I was simply blown away with it. It's not absolutely perfect in every way, but it is such a huge step forward for Medford that it really blew me away. So, what we're looking at here is a titanium frame lock with a aluminum show side scale, with a deep carry pocket clip. It's riding on bearings. It is a flipper that actually flips. The detent is perfectly tuned. So we're going to go through it. I'm going to show you all the reasons why I kind of fell in love with this thing and why it was so shocking to me. But first up, we're going to run through a few specs here. So overall length, 8.56 inches. We've got a handle length of 4.66 and a blade length of 3.9 inches. We've got a handle thickness of 390 thousandths. So it's very, very thin, especially for its length. And we've got a blade stock thickness of just under 1/8 of an inch. It measures 124 thousandths. Now, this is a hollow ground CPM S35 VN blade. And from back here to about right here or so, it measures right about 11 to 12 thousandths behind the edge. So it is aggressively ground. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful hollow grind on this blade. Now, the blade is a fingerprint magnet, so we'll be wiping off fingerprints a lot, but you can see the beautiful tumbled finish, which we're going to get into. Weight on this knife is quite shocking because it is very, very light. I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, 3.473 ounces. So we've got almost a 4-inch blade from Medford at under 4 ounces. Mind-blowing. So, very, very cool. Now, they do offer this in several different colorways. So the show side scale you can get in a couple of different colors. This here is the green, so it's a really, really dark, like forest green color. They also have a yellow/gold color. You can get black, blue, or red, and the red is like a dark kind of burgundy color. Now on the lock bar side, or the lock side, this is titanium on this side, and you can get this in either tumbled titanium or PVD coated or tumbled PVD coated. So this one here is just the standard PVD coated. This happens to be, well, at least when I was at the Medford booth, this is the only one they had that was PVD coated on the lock side. The others were just the tumbled titanium. And then they also offer, you can get the blade in either this polished stonewash finish here, or they call it tumbled, or you can get the blade PVD coated. So those are your options there. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much all the options on the knife. And I'm pretty sure, oh, I take that back. You can get the hardware in either the raw finish or PVD coated as well. And I'm pretty sure across the board, all the models are $500. So that's what you're looking at. Now let's get into some of the things that makes this knife just absolutely amazing. So first off, just how thin everything is. So we've got, 1/8 inch lock side, 1/8 inch show side, and 1/8 inch blade stock. Basically, the thing is 3/8 of an inch thick, and it's fantastic. It carries beautifully, and very, very neutral grip here. And it's absolutely perfect. I really like the throwback to the old military tank, the M-48. This is a tank that was built just after World War II. I think they started in like 1950 or somewhere between 50 and 52. But it was called the M-48, and most people referred to it as the M-48 Patton. So there are some little nods to General Patton on this knife, which I'll show you. But you can see the tank track there milled into the show side scale, and I think that it's just pretty cool looking. It's nicely done without being gaudy. And then you've got the clip here, which this sits flush. The hardware is all flush, so it's perfectly flat, with the exception of the pivot sits out just a tiny bit on both sides. Now, the pocket clip here is in a chevron shape, which is really cool, but because it's recessed and it's shaped the way it is, just one screw holds the clip in, and it can't slide side to side or rotate on that axis there. Now, this pocket clip is removable and reversible for right or left tip up carry, which is amazing. I don't know that Medford has ever offered a knife that has a reversible pocket clip. And then, of course, you do also have a lanyard hole, if that's your thing. The pocket clip is absolutely fantastic. It is fully deep carry. A lot of times people, where they go wrong with these clips that attach on the opposite side, which I really like. Oh, hit my camera. I really like the clips that attach on the other side, as long as they're done correctly. And this one is done correctly. It's beautiful. So the problem with this style clip, like, let me think, the SOG Terminus has this issue, that when you put the knife in your pocket, we'll just use this rag to simulate this, your pant material comes up and folds over the back end of the knife because there's space between the clip and the butt end of the knife. And then that makes it really difficult to pull the knife out of your pocket. Your pocket kind of holds the knife in there, if you will. This one does not do that, so you can see that this is totally deep carry. That whole entire thing is hidden in your pocket, but there's not enough space between the butt end of the knife and the clip to allow your pant material to fold over the end of the knife. So this slides in and out of the pocket beautifully. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, you can see on the clip here, there is a laser etched dog on the clip, and that is General Patton's dog, Willie. And so a cool little Easter egg there on the pocket clip. Willie was, I'm pretty sure, an English Bull Terrier. And if you read any history on General Patton, this dog was with him throughout World War II, and was with him until he died, until General Patton passed away. So very, very cool little nod to General Patton. Also, there are 4 stars, which General Patton was a 4-star general. So there are 4 stars in the blade right there. And then I'm not 100% sure here, but I think that this is model 104 and then dash, and then this is 123 is the maybe serial number of the knife or the number, something like that. I'm not 100% on that, but I think that's what's going on, because I saw a few of the others were 104 dash, 107 or whatever. So I think that the 123 is maybe just the sequential order of this model. But yeah, so there is a relief cut on the lock bar right here. There is not a height difference between the show scale and the lock bar, but it works beautifully. Sometimes that can be kind of a negative because you can't access the lock bar well. On this one, no problem at all. You can access the lock bar. It's absolutely perfect. Now this is riding on bearings, which is just crazy. We're talking about a Medford here. So it's mind-blowing to me that they did this, but I'm really happy that they did, because I think it's fantastic. So fold over deep carry clip. It is a hardened steel clip, and it's beautifully made. Works, functions perfectly. You also have an over travel stop, which I think is a first for Medford as well. And it looks very nice. It's functional. And again, sits flush. So yeah, really, really well done. The hardware is nicely done and looks good as well. Flipper tab is relatively small. Functions perfectly. The detent on this thing is tuned to perfection. These are all things that I cannot believe that I'm saying about Medford. But hey, you know what? I was impressed with this enough that I pulled the trigger on it, and I'm still blown away that I did. But here it is. So there are a couple of flaws on the knife, which we'll get into in a moment. But there are so many amazing things that they did here that it's fantastic, and this is just a fantastic user knife, and it carries so well, and it's perfect in hand, just very, very neutral grip. It's gonna fit and work for everyone. It's really great. So you can see here that they did an internal relief cut for the lock bar, which is something that again, I'm shocked to see on a Medford, but I really appreciate. So for those that don't know, when that relief cut is on the outside of the knife, which most are on most frame locks, it's on the outside, your pocket clip can interfere with that, and your pocket catches on it as you're either going in or out of the pocket. So doing the internal relief is just superior. It's better. You can see we have external stop pins here. Those are exposed when the knife is in the closed position, but when it's open, they are hidden behind the scales there. One thing that is, to me, this isn't a really big flaw, but the fact that the detent hole is exposed, you could get gunk or something in there, which could negatively impact the action of the knife or its lockup, or not its lockup, but its ability to stay in the handle. If you get junk in that hole, then the detent ball can't fall in, and then the knife essentially is not the blade is not held into the handle at that point. So that's, I'm really kind of nitpicking there, but that is one thing. The other thing, as far as the negatives are concerned, you can see a little bit of shiny spot there because that blade tang does stick out past the edge of the handle. Again, very, very minor, but if you were to drop the knife right there or something, or damage that spot, it could affect the lockup on the knife. Again, not something that I'm really worried about, but it is something, so I figured I'd bring it up. This blade is, like I said, S35VN. It's absolutely beautiful. The the mirrored stone wash that they did is gorgeous. It looks beautiful, and every one of these is a hand ground blade. Now you can see it's a very, very deep hollow grind on this blade. And one of the things that they did here, you can see on the spine here, it says made in the USA, which is very cool. But you can see that the blade is the same thickness all the way through the spine of the blade. There is no distal taper to the blade until you get right out to this area right here, and you can see that kind of swedge on the tip. They're calling this a Magnus Grind, and it's really interesting because, so we've got this 11 to 12 thousandths behind the edge thickness that goes all the way up to about here, and you can see where the secondary bevel starts to get a little bit wider going out to the tip. So right here at its thickest point, it's actually 90 thousandths behind the edge, right up here. But what that offers is a very stable tip that you don't really have to worry about breaking, for puncturing kind of things. A plunge cut, sticking this into a box, whatever. The tip is not super delicate and fragile. However, you have this 3 inches here of 11 to 12 thousandths behind the edge for, your detailed work with your Medford. Something that's never been said before. So, anyway, they did an absolute beautiful job on this this blade. And like I said, they're all hand ground, which is absolutely beautiful. And, yeah, I fell in love with this knife as soon as I saw it. I picked it up, looked at it a little bit, and I was just blown away that this is what Medford is doing now. You can see it's perfectly centered, and it's fantastic. It really is. One of the other flaws, we'll say, is on the heel of the knife here. You can see there's a little bit of a smile at the end right there. You can see that, on the secondary, they just went up the plunge when they were sharpening the knife. That's something, it's super common. You see it all the time. But, this is something definitely I could fix. But, yeah, I just figured I'd bring it up. Now, all the examples, they only had a handful of these at the show. I think when I got this one, there were like 4 or maybe 5 others. At the time. This was the only one that was PVD coated on the lock side, but they all had that little bit of a smile on the blade. So, extending that sharpening choil out just a tiny bit would, make it look a little better. Functionally, it doesn't change anything, but, the aesthetics would be better. Otherwise, there's really not much to complain about here, guys. I mean, the knife, it carries so good. It's lightweight. It's a good size. The action on it is fantastic. The geometry is well thought out. You can see that the pivot is all the way at the end, so you're making the most of the handle size that you have here. And that's awesome to see. One of the things that is really well done here. So there is not a detent ramp on this knife, but it doesn't really need it either, because as soon as you release the lock, you can see the flipper tab comes and hits my thumb right there. Well, right there, the detent ball is already on the blade tang. So the fact that it doesn't have a detent ramp, a lot of times, you got to close a knife to this point right here before the blade, before the detent ball is up on the blade tang. This one happens almost immediately. You can see where the detent ball is located. It's all the way at the very end of the lock bar. And with the geometry in here, right there is where that's up against the detent ball. And now, right there, the detent is on the blade tang. So, no issues at all. It functions perfectly. Right there, it's on the tang. And yeah, the action is just Just fantastic. Now, I had a Smooth Criminal a little over a year ago, or whenever that knife came out. It's been quite a while ago. And that thing had a lot of quality issues. I was not impressed with it at all. I love the name of the knife, but that was about it. The rest of it was not good. This thing is fantastic, and I give props to Medford for improving and constantly getting better, changing up the design, doing something that is more just a better cutting tool. I mean, just plain and simple. I know there's a lot of Medford fans out there, and that's awesome. But just in the past, what they've made just wasn't really for me. And in my opinion, none of them were good cutting tools. I mean, yes, they can be sharp, but if you try and cut through anything that's has any structure to it and is thick, like foam or cheese or something like that, an apple, the blades were so thick that it just, none of the stuff was slicing anything, So now this knife here with this amazing hollow grind, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is the first knife that Medford has done that is a serious EDC knife. The rest of the stuff is, maybe cool to look at and that sort of thing, but they weren't really functionally good tools unless you were just out beating on stuff and, trying to pry open car doors and whatnot. So this thing here is really a game changer. One thing I wanted to show you on this pocket clip. Now, I have not removed this clip yet, but it is T8 hardware. So let's take that and let's see what... you can tell that these screws were all made in-house, and we have really good positive engagement with the hardware. The screw hole is very deep. All right, so there you go. And there's the milled out section on the opposite side. And so the pocket clip, man, they just did such a great job. And so when the pocket clip is installed, you end up with, it hides the milled out pocket on the opposite side, which is, like I said, it's just well thought out and just beautifully done. And I love to see that. And it just, it kind of blows my mind a little bit that we're talking about a Medford, because well thought out and beautifully done are terms that I just never thought I would be saying about a Medford. And it's quite shocking, but also true. So I'll get this pocket clip back on here. Okay. Pocket clip's got quite a bit of tension on it, so I just want to make sure I'm not scratching anything. But there you go. It's absolutely beautiful. And like I said, the pocket clip works so well. And you can see plenty of space underneath there for your material, or the hem on your pants or the seam on your pocket. And man, it's such a good knife. I'm just blown away. Every time I look at this thing, I'm just blown away compared to what they did in the past. The Praetorian tie, the 187, the list just goes on and on. They had that one flipper knife that had a freaking flipper tab that hung down to here, looked like a handlebar mustache or some damn thing. And then they do this. And this thing is just, it's really awesome. So I fully endorse this knife, no doubt about it. It's beautiful. Like I said, it's got a few minor little things here and there, but honestly, it by a large margin, the best thing that Medford has ever put out there. And I hope they have all the success in the world with it. I think it's going to be a very popular model for them, and yeah, it's a good one for sure, and I hope to see him do more things like this in the future. So anyway, guys, oh, we also had the certificate of creation here from Medford, and then I also got Greg Medford's signature on there from Blade Show 2021. So very cool. But there you go, guys. There is the new Medford M-48. I'm gone.